It's officially 7 o'clock. Let's call this July 25th Rye Township Board of Supervisors Meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And in just a moment of silence. Please join us in the moment of silence, please. Okay. Moving on to citizen participation. Do we have any citizen participation at this time? And this is for items that are on the agenda.
Just a question. Will Mr. Waggoner be taking questions during his presentation, or should we wait until afterwards?
Mr. Wagner?
I'm going to throw it right back at you. It's however you want me to do it, or however long you want me to do it. I'm willing to speak as long or as short as you want me to.
Okay.
And avail myself as long as you want me to. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to approval of the minutes. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 27th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Brad, second. All in favor? Minutes are approved. Thank you for those minutes, Daisy. Persons to be heard. Randy Waggoner from Perry County Assessment Office. I won't take away any more thunder. Please introduce yourself.
No problem. And if any folks from the public want to see any of the handouts that I'm using, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My name is Randy Waggoner. I'm with the Perry County Tax Assessment Office. As I was talking to Daisy prior to the meeting, I can't believe that I've started my 20th year. I've been in Perry County 20 years. Prior to that, I worked with Wilkinshire Realtors for about 15 months, and before that, I was the Chief Assessor in Cumberland County. I was in Cumberland County 18 years, 23 years total, 18 in the assessment office. 13 of those I was Chief Assessor. I helped navigate the county through its first reassessment since 1972. We started it in 1998, completed it in 2000. We were sort of unique in that it was a hybrid reassessment, one of the first ones done in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. By hybrid, I mean the reassessment company and our assessment office worked hand in hand every step of the way. Once we got the tax bills out, I decided I reached all my goals. I wanted 20 years in with the county. I wanted to work through a reassessment, so I thought I'm going to retire and fly fish and play golf. That lasted about a month. I then went to work with Wilkinshire Realtors for 15 months, and then I ended up talking to the then chairman of the Board of Commissioners in Perry County. He talked me into coming over to Perry, and one of the conversations we had was, what's your opinion of cyclical reassessments? And I explained to him that I've been on, at that time I was on 6 state-level task force looking at tax reform, looking at cyclical reassessment, the whole gamut. It was about that time, I believe it was in 2004, thereabouts, Cumberland County, which was one of the reasons why I decided to retire when I did. They were already talking about doing cyclical reassessments every 4 years. In my opinion, it was overkill. Like I told Commissioner Keller, I said, you gotta look at statistical measures as well as how long it's been since your last reassessment. Well, lo and behold, we started a reassessment in 2008. If you remember 2008, I believe that was around the height of the recession. That took effect in 2010. Well, we sent notices in 2010, took effect in 2011. Again, I was talking to Daisy before the meeting. I made some mistakes in that reassessment that I hope we're going to correct in this one. November the 22nd, 2022, Perry County's commissioner signed a contract with Vision, which is a company out of Massachusetts, to do a countywide reassessment. And I'm going to give a little bit of a break. It's going to be what we call a turnkey. In other words, we're paying them to do the reassessment. Now, I've been involved in their training, and I'm going to be involved in some of their valuation modeling. My staff and I are going to be involved in the informal appeals and probably the formal appeals as well. But the one lesson we learned in the 2008 through 2010 reassessment, we could have done more in the way of PR, public relations, getting out into the public, letting them know every step of the way what we're doing. This is not a top secret project. We're not hiding anything. And so we came up with the idea. We sent letters out to all the municipalities asking for the opportunity to attend a public meeting, just to let you know we're starting a reassessment and a little bit about it. The thicker handout that has two-sided pages, that's what we're calling our door hanger. When a data collector goes to a property, this is going to be folded up, these two documents, and they're going to go in, I call them a plastic sleeve. It's sort of like what the newspapers used to come in on foul weather days, and they will immediately be hung on the door. Now, one of three things can happen when a data collector, I got ahead of myself, I apologize. We started data collection in April. We started in the borough of New Bloomfield. So far, we've completed New Bloomfield Borough, Liverpool Township, Liverpool Borough, Howe Township, Greenwood Township, Millerstown Borough, Buffalo Township, New Buffalo Borough. We're currently in Watts Township. This project is scheduled to be completed so that we can send notices out in 2025. Now, another lesson we learned in the 2010 reassessment, instead of sending 24,000 notices out all at once, we're going to do it piecemeal. We're going to do 2 school districts in March. We're going to send 2 school districts in May. And I can tell you West Perry is going to be the last school district. They're going to be sent mid to late June. Assessment law, and I'm not trying to speak for your attorney, but assessment law says that in the year that you're sending out notices for reassessment, they must be in the mail no later than July 1st. So hopefully that's going to help with some of the management of the phone calls and the people that are calling in to tell us what kind of a great job we did, tongue in cheek. Excuse me. Now, getting back to the door hanger. When we go to a property, one of a couple of things could happen. Number one, if it's gated, we don't even go up the driveway. We move on, we make a note that it's gated, and those property owners will be getting a letter that we need to schedule an appointment. If you don't schedule one within, I think it's 10 business days, we're gonna estimate. We have very good aerial photography, but the measurement tool on that aerial photography can be accurate to within a foot or two. Well, you take 2 feet on a 40-foot long house, now we're talking 80 square feet of living area. So it can be rather a significant mistake or change once they contact. But before we make any changes, our board and our solicitor has taken a stance that no changes will be made unless we are given access to the property. Unimpeded access. The homeowner can't impede us, nor can they leave out any domesticated animals that may impede us. If they say, well, you know, we're still not letting you on, so be it, but no change will be made to their assessment. We handle no trespassing signs the same way, except we will go up the driveway and put one of those door hangers on the door, because a lot of folks nowadays either have those doorbell cameras, or they may have trail cams. So if they see someone pull in their driveway and pull out, they're going to wonder what's going on. So we've had people question us and say, but you're still trespassing. Yeah, to let you know who was there, but we're not taking any photographs, we're not measuring any buildings. If the data collector goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and if what appears as a minor comes to the door, they will say, please let a grown-up know or an adult know that someone was here. I'm going to put this on the outside of your door. If you want to take it off and give it to them, fine. They don't even hand it to the minor so that they know who's there. And then you have the property owner that is not real happy to see us. If they ask us to leave, again, no harm, no foul. They'll hand them the information and they'll leave. And then we'll estimate. We'll tell them right there, that's fine, we're going to go, but we're going to estimate. You do whatever you want. And we're still gonna put a value on your property. And then for those that do allow us access, we will never ever go in a dwelling. Even though the property owner insists, we will not go in a dwelling. Everything we do is based on information at the door and our exterior review. We'll measure every improvement on the property. The dwelling, any outbuildings that we can measure. Now, if there's fences, we respect the fences. If the backyard is fenced in, unless the property owner is willing to open the gate and allow us in, and then when we leave, we'll make sure the gate's closed, we respect that privacy as well. But we will never go into a property. As a safety issue, right before we go into a municipality, either myself or my deputy chief assessor, Darla, will call the 911 center and say, hey, we're getting ready to go into Watts Township. And then we'll normally call the township secretary or whoever would be able to answer the phone and say, hey, in case anybody says there's people walking around in these, and I don't know my colors. I call them fluorescent yellow. Some of the girls say, no, they're fluorescent green. Okay, if I call them fluorescent green, they say they're fluorescent yellow. But every data collector will have, except for me, when I'm out QCing and just checking on things, I have a fluorescent blue one. But they will be in fluorescent yellow. It will say vision across the back, and they will have photo IDs. So that way, if someone questions and says, who did you say you're with? The data collector should be pulling their photo ID saying, I'm with Vision, I'm doing the Perry County countywide reassessment. And if the person, like I said, says, well, I'm not sure if you'd say half the basement finished or all, why don't you come in and look at it? We will not go in a structure. Even if the property owner insists, we won't do it, because it's not fair. If we were able to get in all 24,000, then maybe we'd say, okay. But because we can't and we try to be fair, we choose not to. We'll measure every structure or every improvement on the property, and with owner's permission, we'll take photographs, and then, like I said, notices will be mailed. They're talking about sending preliminary notices late 2024, very, very early 2025. I'm still not sure I want that to happen. If we're gonna get thousands of phone calls, let's get them as a result of the real ones, not the preliminary. Excuse me, and then it'll be set up like the 2008, 2010 reassessment. You can call in and review your information over the phone. Excuse me, if you're still not satisfied, you can ask for an informal review where you come in face to face. We show you how your property was valued, what information we have. If you're still not satisfied, obviously you can still go through the formal appeal process. Sir?
While you were talking about identification, and they're gonna wear a shirt that brightly colored, it's gonna say Vision across the back.
That's a vest, yes.
They're gonna have picture ID on them. Will there vehicles that they arrive in, because some people have long driveways and you see a strange car coming back, so.
That's a good point. I totally missed the fact that they have these small magnetic signs that they put on the doors that says Vision.
Okay.
So
It just says Vision though, or does it say tax assessor? I mean,
I think it just says,
yeah.
I don't know if it has the reassessment on it.
Yeah,
I
because honestly,
had
it says
two on my
Vision.
truck yesterday. I was helping with the training, and I don't remember what they said.
According to your flyer, it says Vision Property Reassessment Magnet,
Okay. All right.
if that's
It
correct.
says all that though?
It says, well, it says that right here.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to it. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna make a note to check the,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
not at all, sir.
Because when we have folks going door to door, sometimes selling windows and things like that, and they show up in a plain Jane vehicle, and we get questions, who was at my house and what were they allowed in the township to be soliciting, so.
Daisy, may I call you or email you with the answer to that question? Would that be the easiest? I'll give an answer tomorrow. I apologize, I don't have it. I know it says Vision, and I thought it had the word reassessment on it. I can see it, it's blue and red. But
If we can get a photo, because if we put it in some kind of an email that goes out, at least folks,
okay,
you know,
I'll
kind of
take a
tune them
picture of
in.
it.
Yeah, maybe we could do, like a small summary article in the newsletter.
Something to give heads up, so.
Absolutely.
Nobody's.
No, it's a good point. Didn't give that a thought. So after we're done with the property, like I said, we're gonna send, the jury's still out whether we're gonna do preliminary notices and then do the official notice, 6 months to 8 months later, I'm not sure. But we will be sending another invitation out to the townships and the school districts a second time around offering to come out and speak, because right now it's relatively new. People remembered seeing it in the paper maybe, but could care less. But when they get that notice, or when it's in the newspaper or on the county's website, stay tuned, notices will be mailed within, and what the schedule's gonna be. People's gonna be a lot more interested, so we'll be sending another letter out, and the next time around, probably have some folks from Vision with me. The last part of the reassessment is, what does the municipalities do in terms of tax revenues? Because assessment law states that, and this was just amended back in around 2008, and again, sir, I don't mean to speak for you as a solicitor, but I have to teach this. So assessment law says that it's a two-step process. Anybody that collects a tax, a real estate tax, has to go through a two-step process when they set their millage for the first year that the reassessment takes effect. So in other words, our reassessment is going to be done in 2025. The appeals will be over on or before October 31st by law. And then what each township, each borough, each school district, and the county has to do, because we'll send out what we call what your certified assessment is as a result of the reassessment. They have to go through a two-step process. The first step is to calculate at what millage rate, based on the new taxable assessment as a result of the reassessment, are we going to collect the same amount of revenue as the year before. And then that becomes what's called your revenue neutral or no tax increase millage. Once they calculate that, then they can increase the amount of their revenue by not more than 10%. So what this single page does is illustrate that exactly, because when a company comes in to try to sell the county on the subject of doing a reassessment, they say, and remember, if you do a countywide reassessment, a third of the property owners will see a decrease in their taxes, a third will see an increase, and a third will see them stay the same. And it proves out, because in 2010, when we did that reassessment, I ran my own statistics independent of the reassessment company. And I used a break point as $50. So I was able to calculate what percentage of the residents saw their real estate, their county real estate tax go down by $50 or more, and it was 36% of the residents. 33% of the residents saw their taxes stay plus or minus about the same. Either they went down not more than $49 or were raised by not more than $49, 33%. And then 31% of the residents saw an increase in their county taxes by more than $50. So it did work out to a third. However, when I was speaking at West Fairview, which used to be an independent borough in Cumberland County, it's now part of East Pennsboro Township. I went down to speak to their citizens group, and it's the only time in my career, 30 some odd years, that I've ever been booed before I even said anything. And when I got done explaining that a third of the property owners will see a decrease, a third will see an increase, and a third will see them stay the same, this gentleman, who in no doubt in my mind was a railroader, stands up, and he's got his bib overalls on, and he's got grease and oil and everything else, and he proceeded to rip me new body parts. And the gist of his comments were, I can do math, and I know that assessment times tax rate equals my taxes. And you're telling me my assessment might go up 10 times, yet my taxes might get down. You're a bleepity bleeping liar. And he says, when I get my notice, I'm going to come in and see you. Matter of fact, I'm going to stand on your desk. I remember his words explicitly. The reason being, when we were finishing up our informal appeals and we were putting in 12, 14-hour days to get through them, my office manager came back and said, Randy, I'm sorry, there's a guy out here, I can't get him to leave. He says, I am staying until I speak to Mr. Waggoner. He came down and spoke in West Fairview, and now I want to sit. I'm thinking, oh, geez. Well, here goes my desk. You want to come in here? This poor guy, I literally felt sorry for him. He came in, and he couldn't stand still. I offered him a chair, he wouldn't take it. He's kind of bouncing around, and finally I said, what's on your mind, sir? I said, get it off your chest. I said, what is it? He said, well, my wife said I had to come in and apologize to you. I said, what? I said, what do you, you're on the apology, what do you, he goes, yeah, he goes, you know, you were saying that third stuff, and I called you on it, and blah, 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 blah. He goes, when you sent me my change of assessment notice, and in all the change of assessment notices, we put what we call an impact statement. We estimate what the county millage rate will be at revenue neutral, and then we tell people, based on this new assessment, this is what your anticipated taxes can do. He was in that third, was going to see the reduction, and he was coming in to apologize to me, and I got the feeling this man didn't apologize too often, but I give him credit. After ripping me new body parts, he did come in and apologize. But what this single sheet will show you is, and the top line is totally 100% factual as of the 14th of June of this year. We ran what we call a tax-based summary by municipality. And on the 14th of June, Rye Township's taxable assessment, in other words, the total assessment of all taxable property, not the churches, firehouses, or anything that's exempt, the township buildings. The total taxable assessment of Rye Township was $191,266,900. And your total millage is 0.90 mils, which is 0.00090. So if we were saying that the reassessment was this year, and it was done right now, how do we go to the revenue neutral or calculate a revenue neutral millage? We say, well, based on the current taxable assessment of $191,266,900 and the current township millage rate of 0.9 mils, if everybody paid their taxes at face this year, Rye Township would collect $172,140.21. So if, as a result of the reassessment, the taxable assessment in Rye Township increases to $250 million, in order to calculate the revenue neutral figure, we take what the taxes would be if everybody paid at face, $172,140.21, divided by the new total taxable assessment, $250 million, and the revenue neutral millage rate would drop from 0.9 mils to 0.689 mils. So now if we look at an individual property owner's assessment, if they're currently assessed at $250,000, based on the current millage rate of 0.9 mils, they would pay $225 in township taxes at face. If we say that property, as a result of the reassessment, would be increased to $290,000, in other words, their assessment's going up $40,000, but we multiply it times the revenue neutral millage rate of 0.689, their taxes, their township tax would be $199.81, or a decrease of $25.19. That's how, as a result of a reassessment of property owners' taxes, even though their assessment goes up significantly, their taxes can come down. Near the end of the reassessment, we'll be sending letters out to all the taxing authorities. If you want some assistance in calculating the revenue neutral millage and then what you could actually go to in order to get a 10% increase, we will put that offer out there to assist any municipality, school district that would want that assistance. I'll open it for questions if anybody has any. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get to read over your information, so the answers might be in there. Can you explain to the residents how the homes are actually assessed? Like you take pictures, you said about aerial pictures and then you mentioned possible square footage. So is it something like that where you collect all kinds of information and then determine what the fair market value is? Is that correct?
Yes. While the data collectors are out collecting the specific property information, they have a group of individuals, I'm going to call them the valuation team. And we made a determination because, as we all know, as a result of COVID, property values are selling for double, triple what they're assessed at. And, you know, case in point, my neighbor, I live in Hamden Township, just right off of Lambs Gap Road, across, right on 944. Our neighbor was going to list her house for $241,000. Before they even put the for sale sign in, they got an offer for $248,000. So the commissioners and some people that we put together as what we call a joint management council said, you know, property values are going off, you know, off the charts right now. You know, what happens when a recession hits or this and that? Ordinarily, a reassessment company will use the most current 3 years of sales data in order to create these value models, and they do it by neighborhood. In other words, they start with the premise that Perry County is one big neighborhood. Then they break it down. Each municipality is a neighborhood. In other words, Rye Township is a giant neighborhood. And then they go into the township and they start breaking down areas, whether it's off of a subdivision, whether it may be off of Lamb's Gap Road, whether it may be wherever, and they make these neighborhoods that have similar economic and physical conditions of the properties, and then they use and we decided to use 5-year sales, not the most current 3, but the most current 5, and they start building these value models. What's a average size ranch house selling for on an acre of ground? What's a bi-level selling for? What's a split level selling for? What's a 2-story, a 1.5 story? And they use the sales to create, I'm going to oversimplify it, a value per square foot. And then based on the information that the data collectors collect, they use the sales data to value the property. So we're not using property values in Marysville to value property values in Blaine, or we're not using sales in Duncannon to value properties in Jackson Township. So we're looking at sales, we're looking at, you know, what affects the value. Are they in a floodplain? Do they have severe slope? Do they have power lines going across the property? Because that's going to affect the land values. So they're looking at a number of things. I can't break it down any more than that, and there's other characteristics. But while the data collectors are collecting specific property data, the valuation team is looking at the sales.
Is there anything in the calculation that says, okay, we're estimating 2,500 square feet. House like that typically has 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 baths. Is number of bedrooms, number of baths, does that even go into the calculation? I've been told that it does, but I didn't know that that's the case.
It's collected information, but it's more based on square footage. But if we find in a particular neighborhood that you've got these 5,000 square foot homes that only have 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, it's just that the bedrooms are big, well, hopefully the market indicates that. So really, the answer to the question is, what does the market show? Is there a difference between a 5,000 square foot home with 4 bedrooms compared to a 5,000 square foot home with 3 bedrooms? Or a 2,500 average size home with 3 bedrooms, a bath and a half, or 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. But the house is still the same size. If we have sales that help us see, we draw it back to the market. So there's not a clear-cut answer that bedrooms definitely affect or don't affect. It's based on the market. It's based on what we find in the sales.
I just have another question. I was reading some other information, and it indicates that there's something called a property record card.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you address, what is that?
It's really our data, right now it's a digital file with all the characteristics that goes into the calculation of an assessment. In other words, you could come into my office anytime, 8 to 4, any day that we're open, and you can look at anybody in the county's property characteristics. It's a digital form, but you could print it out, and we allow property owners to print their own cards out at no charge, so you can see. That's what we call the property record card.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
2, I guess back when you did it in 2008, 2010 timeframe, you could go online and look at that property record card, what was done. Is that going to be happen this time too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. And then the second one is, when will you be in this area? Because I didn't see that anywhere.
Rye Township is going to be near the end of the project because they started northeast of the Juniata River. And then they're going to, once we get done with Watts, we're going to hit Newport Borough, and then we're going to head out to the western end of the county, so that near the end of the project, we're going to be as close to New Bloomfield as possible. That way, if we run into any bad weather, any glitches, we're gonna be closer rather than farther away. So with Rye's proximity, it's gonna be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th from the last municipality collected. So I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say maybe about this time, 2024. Yes, sir.
Quick question, when you guys did the last time, what's the data on average time frame? You guys are gonna do your revenue neutral millage, that's what you do before, like you have to by law. And what can the residents expect, like, you're gonna bring it down to this, your 0.6, whatever you're saying. What kind of time frame, last time it was like 3-4 years, that's when the residents got hit with their increase in taxes. What's a normal time frame for that?
I don't know that there is one.
Cause that's good
As
for
far as
this
the
year.
county tax increase, they didn't increase taxes 2011. I'm gonna say it was like 2015, 2016, and then they just had a tax increase, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it all depends what kind of services, when you're looking at the county budget and again, it's public information. It seems like every year the state is cutting back on its reimbursements to the counties. Well, that has to be made up somewhere.
That's what I said, the county's gonna do it.
Your
Sooner.
county's either gonna cut services, which nobody wants to hear, or you gotta make the revenue up through taxes. So I don't have a clear-cut answer for that, because a lot of variables come into play, Is it gonna be a year that, for whatever reason, the county loses a lot of state reimbursements? And if it's services the county absolutely has to provide, it has to be made up. On the other hand, if things are good, and the growth in Perry County right now is awesome. So, I can't speak for the commissioners, but if the growth keeps going the way it is, and I'm blessed with a tremendous assessment team, if that tax base keeps going up, there's no reason to increase the millage, because the tax assessment increases will take care of itself.
I have another question for somebody else. One of our problems, and everybody has it, but lighted problems. For example, we've got someone, what would be a $200,000 house if it were maintained, but they let it run down, and now it's $50,000 just because that's all that's left of it. It doesn't seem that would be fair, that they would be assessed at what the market would actually pay for that. So how are properties that are blighted but actually have a higher value if they were maintained? How's that taken into account?
I look at blighted properties 2 ways. You have properties that we actually get a letter from the township, from some type of house inspector that says, this house is uninhabitable. And if it is deemed to be uninhabitable because it's structurally unsound, or the black mold is so prevalent, we do make a significant adjustment in the assessment for uninhabitable properties. But if someone's gonna rehab that property and they get a building permit, then that's when we come back and at least bring it up to what it was prior to it becoming uninhabited. If somebody just lets their property go, there is no mechanism for us to make an adjustment other than if the property owner would file an appeal. But a lot of times when that happens, and I've gotten in trouble for this, the commissioners, there are times that I don't use the best tact and discretion, just the way it is. But I can remember asking 2 particular individuals, separate occasions, they left their property run down. It was their decision, not the fact that the property got hit by lightning or somehow it became structurally unsound. And I looked right at the guy and I said, now let me get this straight. You have decided to not do any kind of maintenance or upkeep. So because of that, you feel there's a loss in value. And so you should have your assessment lowered, which means everybody else who's a paying property owner in Perry County is going to pick up your tax reduction because you've chosen to let your property run down. Am I understanding that? Well, the one commissioner didn't appreciate my tact and discretion. However, my solicitor recommended to the board that they really haven't seen any evidence that has shown that this property has seen a reduction in value from the marketplace. And so therefore, his recommendation was to take the recommendation of the assessment office and make no change in the assessment. Unfortunately, in the one case, they didn't listen. It's out of my hands, but we as the assessment office, unless I am given a letter stating that the property is uninhabitable, or if they show me that the basement's cracked and the roof is leaking and, which is all caused because they didn't put the new roof on, we may make a moderate reduction, but for a significant reduction, they have to file an appeal. And then they have to show that some kind of evidence, be it an appraisal or whatever, that shows us that there's a loss in market value. Not just because they have chosen not to maintain it.
Okay, so the assessors are gonna go around, and they would look at the $200,000 house that is run down to 50. And they're saying that they're going to characterize it as a $200,000 property, because that's the potential of it. It's a little frustrating in that the township ends up putting more money into enforcement and things like that with these properties, and also dealing with neighboring properties that are not happy. And yet, they're going to get the property owner of the blighted property will get rewarded with lower taxes, unless you're saying, no,
First of all, the data collectors aren't putting value on property. The data collectors, because in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in order to put value on property for assessment purposes, you have to have a license. So it'll be licensed people that'll be taking the data collector's information and photographs and looking at the property. Now, yeah, if it's overgrown, if windows are broken, again, it's gonna be whatever the valuation team, when they look at that property, what they feel the value to be if it would be listed on the open market. And so if their opinion is it's only gonna bring 50,000, then that's what it's gonna be assessed at or valued at, unfortunately. But then again, someone buying that property is eventually it's either gonna be remodeled and then be valued at what it should be, or it's gonna be demoed, one or the other.
okay.
Any other questions? If there's no other questions, with your permission, sir, I'll take my leave and I'll get back to you with an answer on what the magnetic sign says. And any other questions that come up, and like I said, through this whole process, you don't have to wait for us to invite ourselves or send a letter, hey, you want us to come back. If you start getting pushback from residents and, just get us an email and someone will be out to attend a public meeting and try to answer as many questions as we can, because again, lesson learned in the last one, we didn't do enough of this, a PR. So we're not trying to hide anything, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So I thank you for the opportunity. Hope you all have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you, Randy. Take care. Good seeing you, Bob. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, moving on to municipal report, zoning code enforcement. So we've got invoice from Glace Associates for a total of $273.34. Motion to approve payment of this invoice.
So motion.
Brad makes the motion, your
I'll
second.
second it.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion to pay Glace Associates $273.34 is approved. Sewage enforcement reports. Two items for a total of $150. Make a motion to approve payment of the bill to FSA. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Brad, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Payment to FSA is approved. Road report, Brad?
Yes. We swept cinders at Bellevue down at the intersection, both intersections. mowed along various roads, mowed here at the township building, cleaned ditches and pipes throughout the township from the heavy rains. Service number 3 truck, cut limbs on Reed Drive, Idle Road, and Cove Road. We took number 3 back to LP Smith again for more repairs.
Stuff that was missed last time?
No, it had issues again.
Okay.
What was it, days of like $1,000?
Yeah, just slightly under
Bill for that.
$1,000.
Cut up down trees on Lamb's Gap, Pine Hill, Mountain Road, and replaced the sign over the Bellevue.
Thanks, Brett. Rec board report, Bob, are you representing the rec board this
I
evening?
am.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we had the Sundays in the Park back on 16th of July. Approximately 75 people attended. I understand it's very good. I wasn't there, I had prior commitments. And our next event is August 20th. It will be Martin Henry, a local resident, and his band Broken Silence. And there will be refreshments served. I think it's on the agenda, you have ice cream also. So, hope you all can come out. Thank you.
Thanks to the rec board for doing all they do, and thanks for the update, Bob. Emergency management report, I don't see Mike or Jim here, so I assume we do not have one this month. Daisy, financial treasurer's report, please.
The general checking began with a balance June 1st of $247,434.65. Had receipts of $50,398.54. Expenditures of $88,153.24. Interest earned of $265.13, leaving us a balance July 1st in the general checking account of $209,945.08. The general checking account at Penn, which is really not our chief operating account, had only interest activity and had a balance July 1st of $2,305.02. The American Rescue Plan Fund's money market account had only interest activity and had a balance July 1st of $2,868.52. The general savings account had only interest activity and had a balance July 1st of $2,515.61. Liquid fuels checking account had only interest activity and had a balance July 1st of $790.98. And then liquid fuels money market savings account had only interest activity and had a balance July 1st of $2,675.18.
Thank you for that, Daisy. And moving on to resolutions, resolution 2319, transfer at maturity of bridge CD from Penn Bank to the Bank of Landisburg for 21 months at 4.55 annual percentage for a better rate of investment return.
And that will be maturing before the next meeting, that's why I have it on now to get the authority to do so when it matures. It's now making 0.45%. I tried to move it and they wanted to charge me over $1,700, which it was in for 2 years, so we would actually lose money, so I just left it sit there. But now it's going to be 4.55, so I can't wait.
Okay, make a motion to approve resolution 23-19. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Sean, second. All in favor? Aye. Resolution 23-19 is approved. Moving on to new business, appointment to County Solid Waste Advisory Board.
Yes, we received notice from Perry County Watershed Specialist of Perry County Conservation District. I think it's a guy, but I'm not sure. It's Bailey Miller, so that might go either way, but I'm not sure. I did not speak to him except through email, and they're asking, they are now putting together a solid waste advisory committee. They're in the early stages of updating the solid waste management plan, which the last time they updated it, Bob was actually the representative on that committee. They're proposing approximately 4 meetings over the next 2 years. It's just good to have representation on that, because it deals with recycling, trash, anything to do with that, and that's always an issue, so we really should have a release there.
Who's our solid waste superintendent?
That's me, that's me. I could,
Not to put you on the spot.
no, I can do it. I mean, yeah, I'll be,
I don't think they have the date.
they don't have anything in writing or whatever for dates or anything yet, but I mean, I'm more than willing to do it.
I'm more than willing to appoint. Do we have a second?
Virtual.
Brad, second?
Okay, that
All in
was good.
favor?
I abstain.
You're abstaining. Really, are you serious?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I say aye. Appreciate that.
So moving on to B, Penn Waste Trash Collection Contract for 2024 and 2025. What's the time frame? I saw this come through. What time frame do we have to?
Well, if we don't, then you have to go for formal bid. So that takes some time, and we're gonna need the figures for budget in October.
Okay.
So we do have some time limitations there. This is the second revision, and I really don't expect that they'll lower much more. You could try, but, if you read through it, they did drop considerably from the
For the
first
first one.
Yeah.
proposal, which I thought was ridiculous.
But they didn't, there's no, if we table this until the next board meeting, is there harm to that? Is there, we're not gonna lose anything.
I would think.
That's my understanding.
No.
I'd like to look into it further. That's why.
That's fine, but then we're gonna have to you authorize me to advertise until I get it advertised and we pull the bids back in
That's what,
again. You
I'm sorry,
know.
that's what I'm asking. So we would have to advertise, if we don't act on it this evening.
Right, I have to put the bid together, which I do have some from the last time.
I would say it would be a whole lot different, probably.
No, last time we already got one bid.
I was
which
just
was
gonna
Penn
say,
Wood.
I mean, that's gonna be the problem.
We're over a trash barrel.
They keep telling me, I mean, the last couple of times that they don't like our township because it's long and narrow. Plus, it's kind of at the far range of where most of the companies come.
I mean, it's very obvious by the last time, the fact that, I mean, you didn't get a bid from Waste Management, and you didn't get a bid from anybody else. I mean, I mean, it's,
Yeah, yep, no.
it is over the proverbial barrel. I mean,
Daisy did do a good job trying to get this down. I mean, she worked
yeah,
with them to try to get this lowered, so it's saving us a lot of money.
I was concerned because they are not Penn Waste.
yeah, well, yeah.
They're
Well, yeah,
Waste-
they've been
they're
bought
Waste
out.
Connection, so
Yeah.
I was concerned that, we might lose some of that goodwill with knowing them a little more personally. But Joel is still there.
He's still there,
He's
at
still
least.
there, so, yeah. And he said, I'll see what I can do for you. I
He's the
said,
fellow that came in here.
yes, he's the guy that came in when we did the mobile containers. One of the guys, but he's the municipal contract manager. Plus other things, he does a lot of stuff.
Solid waste superintendent, are you making a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to accept their proposal for 2024, 2025.
It's just an extension.
An extension of what's already in place. I don't.
Yeah, oh yeah, we don't have options.
No, I don't,
It's,
I hate it, but I don't really think there's anything else we're gonna do. And to be honest, I don't think we get a better price from anybody, not really, I mean,
We went today,
Unless they low bid to come in, but then.
unless they would wanna just get started, I mean, but.
Sean makes the motion, I'll second. All in favor? Motion to extend the contract for 2024-25 with Penn Waste. And did you say, are they changing their name or they're
No, they're
maintaining
keeping
that?
Penn Waste,
Yeah.
but they're no longer Penn Waste. They've been bought out by
They don't.
Waste Connections, which is,
They're a big one,
they're
big
big,
one,
a
yeah.
big conglomerate, but we still have some of the
Little small town
Yeah.
kind of
good customer service.
stuff.
Well, thanks for doing all the work that you did. on
You're
this.
welcome.
It's appreciated.
And this is you'll need to sign both of those. Normally, if you wanna sign it or Jim wants to sign it, it doesn't matter. but that's really just an extension, and it would be resolution 2320. We give it a resolution number. I didn't put it on there because I wasn't sure what we were doing.
You want some?
Okay, well, no, go ahead, but just pen in 23 so we can have it.
2320.
23 is their huge one. And then we send it off to them to also, then it's attached to the existing contract. If you want the solicitor to look at it, that's what we use, so.
You feel the need to?
Take a look
You
at
wanna take a look at that?
I mean,
I can look it
you
over.
can.
it. It's pretty simple. Keep it simple.
Okay, while the solicitor's looking it over, we'll move on to announcements. So August 1st is gonna be the planning commission meeting held right here, 7:30 PM, Township Building. August 20th, as Bob Leitner indicated, is gonna be music in the park from 6 to 8 PM. We thank Mark Henry and the band for the entertainment and for the rec board for supporting all of that. September 4th, the office will be closed for Labor Day. Trash collection will be Wednesday, September 6th. And then September 10th is bonfire hot dog roast in the park from 6 PM to 8 PM. Moving on to approval and payment of the bills. Daisy, please.
General fund checks 17718 to 17739 in the amount of $10,547.31. There were no expense checks voided. Payroll checks 8231 to 8236 in the amount of $4,279.03. Payroll checks 8237 to 8240 in the amount of $4,126.41. And there were no payroll checks voided.
I'll see if they fit in for, repairing the bench park, legal park.
And the trash, he gets the trash every week.
How's he?
His dad's with him every time.
Yeah.
I think they're
Good for
enjoying
them.
this
Yeah.
time together, really.
Uh,
And they were over in, Weaver Park.
yeah, Layman's Towing.
We got a truck inspection.
Oh, that was the inspection. I didn't know if that was getting the dead truck back over there.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was inspected.
Make a motion to approve payment of the bills. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Brad, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Payment of the bills is approved. Thank you, Daisy. And moving on to second portion of citizen participation. John,
Sure.
you are on.
Yeah, got I have down there one thing, but two things that came up during the meeting. As you were asking questions, is there any way we could get like a memo kind of line on our check register? That way that we don't have to ask things like what is Harry or what's Layman's Towing for? Do you think we could do that? Yeah, just a basic like 2 or 3 words. So.
This is a software
I
program.
can say it depends what the software does, I mean, that's.
Plus you have to sort of pages. You can just ask, I don't think there's that many.
Let me look into that, John.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The next one I have is about the prices for that trash contract extension. Did you say what the amounts were each year? I know you said they went down from the previous contract proposal or whatever, but I didn't know if you had those numbers. If you could read them off.
Sure.
It is.
You have here.
I know, I have it. It's, yeah. You want percentage wise?
If
I
you
know
have,
it's 10% for 2024 and a 2% increase over that for 2025.
so it's a 10% increase than what 2023 is.
Yes,
So 10% more, and then
yeah.
And you
It's-
said
it's actually
2%?
just it's just shy of 10%
Yeah, it's
technically.
not 9.
It's
And then
not
you
quite
said-
10%.
Okay, and-
9.9 something.
okay, and then the second one was 2%.
2%. 2% over that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then,
The just for information, John, the original one was 15% and 5%.
Right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was pretty steep
it
in the
was
beginning,
pretty,
yeah.
pretty, and actually, pretty insulting, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was. Yep, and then,
Waste Connections came in.
Yeah, well,
and then I'll get to the one that I had written down there. So I asked about maintenance, you know, is what I wrote down. I was wondering, what is the township's long-term plan, at least like, say, 5 years for infrastructure improvements such as paving, drainage, and guide rail? Do we have one?
That's a pretty complicated and involved question, so let's take that under advisement and get back to you on that.
So we don't, that was what you're saying, right? We don't have one?
No, that's, again, that's the first we're hearing the
But what-
question, so we'll provide a response at the next.
All right. Well, I'm going to have my comment then associated with that, which is, you know, we have pipes and inlets that are failing, have big scour holes, stuff like that. We have well out of compliance guide rail of note, like across from your house, Jim, that guide rail isn't even attached at the end. It's being held down by a rock. And we've got road issues like the pavement that's failing on Lamb's Gap Road that has this big dip in it now. I'd really hope that we can start planning out what maintenance we need to do. You know, not just make decisions in October of, oh, we're gonna do this road or that road. So,
Did you ever get with PennDOT and see what their visions are for 850? Their guardrails, their shoulders and all that, you never say nothing about that. It's always complain on the township.
do you know that we're at this meeting to talk about township stuff, right?
Well, does
Do
850
you
run
know
through
that?
the township?
Yeah, but
Okay, why don't
you
you
don't
say
control,
something about
oh
that?
my, you don't control what PennDOT does, and actually, they do have plans.
Well, they do.
So, I'm just telling you, I'm here at the township meeting to talk about township stuffs.
Well, that's a township route.
If he's gonna question me, I'm gonna ask it back, Jim.
Understood, John.
So please understand.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that.
So, okay, yes, please let me know if we have a plan and what it is, so, because I'd really like to see our taxpayer dollars planned out, more than just October. So, thank you.
Kathy, you had a question?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Oh, it was just in case I had any other questions for Randy, and I just wanted to be on record there, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Anyone else? Comments? Hearing none, I'll make a motion for adjournment. Do we have a second? Grant, second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Daisy. It is 7:57.
7:57,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
There'll be no question.